So this is just a test. Mopa. Alright, if you're listening, if you're just joining, just exercise some patience. We're just testing the microphone. Right, we're just testing out things tonight. And yeah, trying to see how tonight is gonna look like and everything we're trying to do. And yes, it's kind of an interesting night, yeah. It's kind of an interesting night to be able to pull all this together in a single night. Either way, let me know where you're watching from. Let me know where you're joining from. Right? Yeah, let me know where you're joining from. Let me know where you're joining from. Let me know, guys. Let me know. Oh yeah, I can see that I'm on X. I can see that I'm on X and two people are already, somebody has clicked on it to repost the live. And stream is starting soon. Oh, so it ended at about 2 minutes. So this has already ended. So I'm gonna delete this and then wait for the next one. Alright, I think my life is it's already working as I can see that on X. Awesome. Awesome, 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 awesome. Alright, so the audio is going through. Everything looks amazing. This is Test Live, and trying to be sure that everything is working as expected. If you're seeing my live for the very first time, this is me trying to test out and be sure everything is just exactly as expected. Alright, this is me trying to be sure everything is exactly as expected. Alright, so confirmed YouTube is live, confirmed X is live, and I want to check one more to confirm that that TikTok is live. Alright, so let's kind of do that quickly and then we know exactly where we are. Beautiful. So I can also confirm that TikTok is super live. Okay? Alright, so TikTok is super live. And so everything is as expected. There is no backdrop, there is no issue anywhere, and we're doing super well. And it's kind of nice to see that we're able to achieve all this without a lot of with the technology we already have. So the era of personal medicine is what this tonight's live is about. The era of personal medical software. This is the era of personal medical software, and I'm gonna be running through tonight with you. I do hope that you will sit tight and enjoy the session. It's kind of gonna be a very interesting moment. If you're just joining my life for the very first time, I want to invite you to just sit tight and enjoy the moment. Alright, just sit tight and enjoy the moment. That's all I can tell you for tonight. It's gonna be super amazing. I don't know what your expectations are, but trust me, I'm coming here your way to bring you something that is going to excite you in an unimaginable way. Alright? The one thing you're gonna take out from tonight is that the future is here. I want you to know that the future is right here with us. That's one fact. And given that the future is here with us, there's a lot of things that we need to understand. That the future of medicine, there's a lot of sensation about how exactly AI is going to change medicine. And people are looking at a very different perspective from what I'm looking at tonight. And it's just me trying to bring us into the cruise of the conversation. All right, let's get started. Yeah, you can see me, I can see you, wonderful people. It's been a while we did this. It's been a long, long time we did this, like maybe weeks. It's been a long time that I came live for us to have a conversation, have a discussion around what if the next medical breakthrough comes from a weekend tool, the era of personal medical software has arrived. And trust me, I just want to know what you're thinking. If you're watching from TikTok, you're on X, you're on YouTube, you're on whatever platform you're watching me from tonight, just let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what's going on, what you're trying to understand, what you're making of this topic, right? And my intention tonight is just kind of excite your mind, kind of tickle your mind on all the possibilities, on all the realities, on all the things we can make happen independent of where you are on the global space. Whether you are, let's even say you're somewhere watching us from outer space, wherever you're watching from, right? So the whole concept of tonight is to be able to drive something interesting that will make you want to think a little bit more than the normal, something that will make you want to ask yourself, you know, what next after now? What do we do after this particular time? And I do hope you want to sit tight and learn with me as we have this conversation together. So first and foremost, there's something that's happening in medicine right now, and not just in medicine, something that's happening beyond the world of medicine, beyond every sector you can think about, where technology is literally changing. That the cost of acquiring technology in the form of software, and that is gradually translating into the hardware domain because, of course, one of the limiting factors to even the hardware automation and modernizing it has been the software back end, and that is literally like of it's like that commodity has become so commonized, right? It's the place where we are right now, and so this conversation, this particular hour is just a look at that particular scenario, so we understand exactly where we are, how we got there, and what we ought to do about that. Or having said that, let's just quickly get started. So, I wanted to picture something that on a Saturday morning, one wonderful Saturday morning, a physician in a small clinic, he's been frustrated for years trying to get something done, trying to tell them, hey, this app you gave us is not doing a whole lot I want to do. There's so much I want to do for my patients, but I'm not able to do it because of the limitations in this app you gave me. You're trying to do all that, tell them all of that story, and then they are looking at you, they're asking you, are you sure you know what you're talking about? Are you sure you know what you're dealing with, right? So you've tried to have this conversation with them back and forth again, and it's not making sense, all right? People are struggling to provide the care the people they are attending to need. Your doctor is struggling, your nurse is struggling, your pharmacist is struggling, your everybody in the care team is struggling just to ensure that you, the patient, get the best out of what you need. All right, and we're unable to do that because the technology is built by people who don't understand healthcare, who don't understand what is and what should not be, right? So she's complaining about the vendor. She has filed, of course, future requests. Nothing has changed. And then one Saturday morning, she heard about AI. This doctor decided to try to build that particular application. And then she went on and described what she wants in plain English. And by lunchtime, she has a functional tool. Now, that is in summary the generation we're in right now, is the context we're in. And so it simply means that our tool that otherwise will not have existed can now exist by the doctor or by the care provider who's going to take the initiative to prompt it. Hi, Frankie, I see you. Wherever you're joining from, I just want to welcome you to this live. So that's going to take the initiative to prompt that particular thing to life, right? That's the generation we're in right now. So the future is not coming. The future is here yet. So if you're still wondering what the future of medicine is going to look like, I want to tell you the future is here. The kiosk consultation points, the telemedicine, advanced robotics, building Neuralink tools to make people be able to see, be able to hear, cloning of human cells, synthesizing transform organ. The future of medicine is what we're living right now. Okay, so the good thing about that is that the way we are trying to personalize healthcare in terms of the service we provide, there's also a personalization of the medical software itself. All right, so the system of provision, not just the care, is going to get personalized. All right, so I wanted to understand that. So, who am I? My name is Dr. G. I go by Dr. G, but of course, my name is God's will, and I am keenly interested in AI and the practice of medicine. And the good thing about that is that AI is been in the conversation because we're talking about the future of medicine. What's going to happen to medicine after now? What's going to happen to medicine for us that are currently in the space of medical practice? So the conversation has before now has been all about, hey, which AI is able to write a medical exam and pass it very well, which AI is able to read a scan and provide diagnosis, which AI is able to take your results and give interpretation, which AI is going to replace a doctor. Those have been the conversation we've been having about AI all this while, but all that is changing. All right, so all that is changing, and what we need to look at right now is that there's an immediate, more practical thing that is happening, because while we're struggling to ask ourselves, will AI take my job? Will AI not take my job? There's something we're doing entirely different, and what's happening that is entirely different from that is that we have been able to build apps and personalize apps for both the provider and the patient. Right, that's what's happening right now, and that in itself is super interesting. And the good thing about that is that there are 5 shapes or 5 types of app you can build right now that is listening to me. So let's say you're a care provider and you're thinking about doing something interesting. I want to tell you about this particular 5 set of apps you can go and get the right. And the 5 apps is what we're going to be looking at this over the next 10 to 15 minutes. If you're going to sit with me, you will understand how you are going to play a role in what is happening with these apps in the next couple of weeks. First and foremost, let's quickly take a look at the first one. Right, every one of them has direct application in medicine. We're going to talk about today, and these apps they're going to be in different categories depending on the need or the people you're trying to address that to. But what's more important is that you can do that sitting from your, in fact, at some form, if you're someone that is a bit tech savvy, you can literally build that from your phone. You don't need a laptop again to do that, right? Just your phone with a chat interface on AI, you can do that. So first and foremost is what I'm going to call the local tools. What are this? These are the kind of apps you build, and this particular kind of apps, something interesting about them, you know, is that they're going to live on your machine, all right? They live on your machine, and because they live on your machine, they are local. They don't need to be on a server, on the internet, or anywhere. They just live because you're trying to build something that uses your small file, your small data, and most important thing, let's say you just want to be able to analyze the record you already have in your system or something. You need something that can compare your, of course, side effects, complaints from your patients, and your drug interactions. You know, basically your local data. I want to just do that. You can build a tool that does that for you locally. No extra demands, just for you and yourself and stuff like that. And the simplest thing, of course, you can build is something that tiny and the rest of it. And the good thing about it is that's going to take you just one single afternoon with an app like Cloud Code or any of the coding platforms. One afternoon, and that particular app is built for you. Now, this is something that you might not have been able to do prior to 2025, but now it doesn't take anything. You can do that, and you can do it instantly. All right. Yeah. So having said that, the good thing about this is you can, there are a lot of options where this fits in, right? I'll give an example already. This can be such as a private reference tool for your laptop, a conference, a reference for your patient population, medication analysis, and stuff like that. You can literally do that at your convenience, and that's super easy. Hi Uj, how are you? Is that Uju? Yeah, how are you? So, given that, you get to see that that is one tier of app you can build. The second kind of app you can build where you are right now as a care provider is going to be a web app, right? So, for this, you want to be able to build something that, of course, you can share a link. People can access it from their tools, devices, whatever the others that we can access that. Now, given that, all they need to do is, of course, add it to their phone, save it on their phone, desktop on their phone, home page if they want to do that. Super easy. You can share that. You know, you want to build something more personal for your clinic, for your patient tier, so that they can have access to it or maybe something just for, something just particularly you want to build something that is able to track recovery, drug reactions, patient complaints, basically you can do that, and you don't need an app store, no logistics of all those hosting, no, not applicable, just a website with a downloadable app they can install, and that is kind of that. Now the third tier of apps we have, before we get into that actually, so there's a third group of apps, right? So because you're really building something that is going to stay with people and you need the data to save it, right? You're going to consider what I'm going to call your data you're handling. Where is this data going to live? Because you must think about that. And the thing about it is that there's what they call the generic builder and the HIPAA compliant database. For those of us in medicine, it must not, we cannot afford to build on a generic platform. Whatever we're doing must be HIPAA compliant. So we're going to think about something that can manage the compliant database in a safe nature. And that is not a decision you make later. It's a decision that you have to make right from the very start. From the very time you think about building an app that is personal, the same way health is personalized for your patients, you're trying to say, I want to provide them a personalized app experience. You must think about where that patient's data will live, all right? So you don't think about that later. Remember that you're going to be collecting data, there will be patient name and stuff like that. And the good thing about this is that if you get this right, you have attained a height of legal and ethical compliance that has, of course, one of the biggest weight in medicine. And so you want to be able to take care of that super early, all right? So you don't want to make this an afterthought, not at all, not at all. The moment you begin to think about building an app, think about building something for your patients, for the population you serve, you must be able to have a thought for where that data will live. Now, the top kind of apps you can build today for your patients here, so the people you serve, is the native phone app. Of course, everybody has a phone. I mean, almost everybody has a phone, and the phone has apps. Now, those kind of apps, that's what I'm talking about, right? When you go to the Play Store and download them, come on, basically those kind of apps, right? So you download those apps, and those apps are meant to do one thing, right? They're meant to provide you more access to the patient or more access to the user, because you want to be able to push notifications, you want to be able to interact with them through the app, right? Because the app has some access that a web app or other forms of local tools will not have. So for this, you expect that you can send them push notifications, you can, of course, integrate that with their own medical devices and stuff like that, get recordings synchronized and sent over to you, background location tracking for all our functional services like in home health care, and maybe when you just want some deep capabilities enabled on their devices, you will need a full-blown app to do that, all right? So given that, you also want to be able to just not transit yourself to going to build an app first and foremost thing. You see, I did say you must be able to prove that your idea as a web app first, because building an app, maintaining the app has a couple of technicalities. So the first thing you want to do is first of all build an app, confirm that the web app is functional. There's actually a need for it, and then it's able to serve the need for which you're building it. Real patients, real results. Once you do that, you can now say, okay, there are functionalities we need to add that definitely will do better on a phone app. Then that's when you can think about building a phone app. So again, you must first and foremost prove the idea before going into any of that. Now, the fourth category of apps we're going to talk about today is what I'm going to call the background services. Now, in the background services, for this particular ones, if something you want to do in the background that doesn't have or necessarily need a front end screen where people can monitor it. An example is, let's say you have a couple of patients you have in their homes who are taking their readings, or people in the admission in the ward. You just want something that monitors what is going on, like their blood pressure, and sends signal to the right person. Or you're monitoring your lab results, seeing the patterns, the data, the outcomes, and then you want to be able to trigger some background signals. Hey, this issue going on. Those things are background, they are just somewhere in the background in your general operations as a facility, as a hospital, or in whatever way. Basically, that's where those exist. So with that, you want to be able to think beyond just a local app or the background services, because it doesn't have to have an interface that anybody's interacting with. You build it, you set it up, and it's running in the background, sending notifications, calling emergency alerts, reaching out to people that need to reach to. This kind of app is called a background app, right? And of course, you want to be able to have that drug recall calls, following up with the updates, with the news, expiry dates on the drugs, on your stocks, you're running out. They are basically all background kind of applications, and you can have that running in your facility, and you can build that instantly today by just chatting up online, and that is all it takes. Of course, lab routing and a couple of all those. Now, the fifth kind of app we're going to talk about that you can build is what I'm going to call the hardware project. Now, this might sound a little bit intricate, but of course, I worked with a lady about 3 months ago that is in the forge or in the midst of trying to build an app like this. I had a consulting session where we had to look at what she's building, the resources, the tools, the people she needs, and stuff like that. So basically, that's how this comes about. So you need to be able to think about that. Raspberry Pi, reading sensors. I want to look at how to connect or integrate your point of care devices with your own or other devices you have. You can do all that now, right? You don't have to keep waiting for the builders to go through the process. You can just design that, point test it, and get it functional, log your readings, schedule analysis, and all those things. And that is currently achievable just by sitting on your phone or your laptop and building that. So that brings us to what I'm going to say, that together we are creating something powerful as well. Right, the good thing about it is that I'm personally working on Docarion, so I'm hands on what I'm telling you, right? I'm building a project as well. But the good thing about this is that you are able to build something that is done by someone in the health sector. That's the good thing about this. And secondly, you're able to handle workflow specific needs exactly as it works. You're not trying to build for someone else, you're building for yourself, for your patient, and for your need. And what could be better than that, right? And then this is something that a lot of platforms are anticipating, that a time will come when the people using these apps will be able to be the one building the app to suit the needs they're trying to solve, right? And that's exactly what we're trying to do here. And the good thing about it is that purpose-built, customized tools is everything. As we're personalizing medicine, we're personalizing the platforms that is used to provide personalized medicine. I mean, that tells you that we are truly, truly in the midst. Now, before we wrap up with this, I want to talk about the risk you cannot ignore, and there are 4 of them. You cannot afford to ignore this risk, because if you ignore this risk, everything you're building, everything you're trying to work on is not just going to make sense. All right, so we must be actively, proactively thinking about this, and that's the essence why I'm doing this, right? So I can provide the necessary information. All right, the good thing about this is the fact that if we act accordingly, we're going to prevent the kind of complications or incidents that will be very disastrous. For non-medical cases, we don't have a problem. If you try to build something, let's say your alarm clock and it doesn't work, of course you wake up late and that's all. But in medical care, if something is not in order, if something is built wrongly, if something gives the wrong numbers, the consequences can be disastrous, right? A typical example is we're trying to build an app very, very early ago. I was supposed to determine fertile window and of course safe period for women. Imagine that app was miscalculating people's fertile windows by large number of days. If that is the case, imagine people that are going to get pregnant by just trying to follow the predictions of the app. So let's get down to things you should be worried about, or things you should put in as part of your control measures. If you're thinking of building an app for your patient or customizing something, a custom solution for your own setting or for your own work, the first and foremost is that you have to think about where data is going to be. Privacy is everything for us, because it's sensitive information and it's of course health data that we have to secure at all costs. You want to very early think about what this data will be, and most importantly, wherever the data is going to be, it must be HIPAA compliant. Alright, it must be HIPAA compliant. That is one very important one. The second thing is that the decision on what do you call it? The what I'm going to call the clinical safety AI code. You have to remember that even though we're using AI, we don't want to keep pumping patients' data into AI. You have to be able to find a way where you are looking at how to clean up this data, remove every PHI from them. Even though you want to run this data via AI, we must de-identify these data before we do that. In addition to that, we must have a good logic for detecting errors, knowing that the computers or the AI are doing the right thing with the information we give them. They are processing it appropriately and they are providing the right information back to us. Alright, so you must test the tool, you must look out and see, are there leakages? Are data entering where they're not supposed to enter? And so there's a whole lot of things to think about around this. But basically, that is the sense we need to integrate into this to ensure that it's making sense and we're doing the things we really need to do. Alright, so as a clinicians, we must ask ourselves, does this thing actually work, or is it just another useless AI tool, right? Because that's a lot of the things we're seeing that is happening out there. Now, there is no substitute to you actually testing this tool with real people in real scenarios, in real deployments. You must be able to do that to predict or state categorically the functionality or the usefulness of every or any single tool you might build now. The third thing you want to be aware of what I call regulatory awareness. So simply because you build the app yourself, this also does not automatically excuse me. So simply because you build the app yourself, it's not going to remove the need for regulatory oversight on the app you're building. Because of course, that is what the law expects. The law expects that medical, of course, apps or anything that's going to use in the space of medicine is well regulated. So there is no way around that. So it has to be well built. It's going to be regulated, and we have to commit to ensuring that the app is appropriately or correctly regulated. All right. So, having said that, the next thing I was going to say is that we have to kind of get in line of ensuring that we do these things right and we address these things the way they're supposed to be. Now, having said that, regulatory awareness. So, when in doubt, you want to use the tool as a reference tool. Never deploy it as a standalone tool that can perform something, because let's say in the US, it must go through FDA approval, and various countries have their own regulatory processes. So you have to ensure that that particular tool or app you build still passes regulation and is functional in that setting where you are. Alright, so before deploy, you want to consult your institution if you're an employee, and of course, if you have regulatory bodies, you want to pass it through them to be sure that everything is fine. Okay, so the final and the fourth thing I wanted to look into before you deploy any solution for healthcare is about data stewardship. Where will this data live? This data you're building and you're collecting, is it something you can? There's what we call data portability. Are these data portable? Can you take them from one point to the other if you need to move them? Because of course, everything you build today, just unlike a house that is fixed to one place, will be subject to some form of portability or the other, right? So that's technology infrastructure for you. There might be some updates, some changes, some collapsing, a lot of things can happen. So you must understand that when you're building, you are looking at the proprietary structure and nature of where you're building on. Right? I want to find something that has or supports maximum portability. You want to be able to get something like a standard PostgreSQL, and most importantly, something like Superbase uses some form of good advantage in terms of portability, and most appropriately, building your data the way you want it to be, the way you can move it around is something you want to think about. Or from otherwise, you might have issues somewhere down the line. Now, having said all that, I just want to re-emphasize again that the barrier has collapsed. The days of us struggling to get an app built for our practice of our hospital, for our team is gone. Right now, we can get exactly what we need when we want it, how we want it, by just prompting an AI and getting that to build for us. So don't let anything hold you back. You want to be able to go on and try out that, because of course you don't have to hire a team, you don't have to get designers, you don't have to do anything. You can get people to review it if you want to. But basically, I know there's an argument around using an AI to review an AI, because of course the bias might still be there. But the good thing about it is that the barrier to entry, the barrier of getting a functionally MVP, if I'm going to put it that, has totally been removed, because you no longer need to hire a team. Alright, all you need to do is describe what you want in plain English, alright, and you have it. So every clinician watching this has a problem of that generic software or your generic team have not solved for you. You no longer have to have that problem again. No longer have to have that problem again, because the software was built for everyone and your practice is not everyone. And today you have a solution to that. So what do you do with all of these things, all these tools we have? If you've not started doing anything, here's my challenge, here's my post to you. I want you to identify one area in your practice that you wish there was a solution for. Alright, once you identify that particular problem, I want you to go in today, sit down with AI chatbot, alright? Describe exactly what that problem is. Alright, so three things you're gonna do, right? You're gonna describe what happens today. You're gonna describe what should happen instead, alright? And you're gonna tell the AI where the tool should run and who is gonna see it. Once you do that tree, what will happen? You're gonna sit down with an AI coding agent, and after describing it in plain English, it's gonna build a solution for you. Alright, AI is going to deliver the total solution to you, and once AI delivers it to you, your own responsibility is to go ahead and test this tool. ensure that your data are compliant, and then begin to document your decisions and show it to other people. That is how problem and solutions are merging themselves together in clinical practice and changing how people do things on the go. All right, so go ahead, try that in your practice, and then come tell me what you see. Now, the whole idea is that we're caring for the whole man, our spirit, soul, and body. In the meantime, so I'm gonna be coming live a lot more frequent. You're likely gonna be seeing my face every single day, and I will be discussing lots more interesting things, a lot more interesting conversations, going from trending health matters up until this. And I do hope you're able to learn with us and we grow together and we keep advancing together. In the meantime, I want to say thank you if you're just seeing me for the very first time. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and follow. I have a lot of interesting content, a lot of interesting videos. Some people want to put a face to me because a lot of times I've not gone live in a long, long time, but that's because I'm trying to see how I can make my live sessions more efficient. Most importantly, be able to be available across all the platforms. And I think I've been able to get a viable solution. So I'm currently on TikTok, I'm on X, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Twitch, so I'm on Facebook. So I'm like kind of 5 platforms at the same time. And that's always what I wanted to do. Right? I didn't just want to come to TikTok and spend all the time on TikTok. And then people on YouTube are looking for me, people on X are looking for me, right? So this way I can kind of make it much more resourceful for everyone. So I'm going to be live tomorrow or later today, but today when I come live, I'm going to be talking about kidney diseases and currently what's happening, the new studies that came up about that, and hopefully someone learns something about it. And in addition to that, I'm also going to come live to talk about a lady who made a post yesterday about having after childbirth. She discovered that, of course, looks as if her vagina was a little bit larger than normal and she doesn't feel it, right? In fact, so bad that she doesn't even know when her partner penetrates her and she's literally asking, has he entered? Because it's been a source of concern for both partners. So I'm going to address that. Later today, and as well as hopefully you learn something from that, and hopefully you'll be able to contribute, say your own opinion about that. And I'll see you guys again some other time tomorrow. Later today, by the way. So thank you once again for joining me.